Ever feel like you're stuck with this inner voice that just won't quit? Like someone's constantly narrating your life, even the boring parts.
You mean like, uh-oh, spilled coffee again? Classic me.
Yeah, exactly. Or, freaking out over something small.
Like what kind of napkins to get for your wedding?
Oh, totally. In The Untethered Soul, Michael Singer dives right into this. He compares the mind to a super chatty roommate.
It's such a good analogy.
What makes you realize how much we put up with from our own minds.
Definitely. And that's Simmer's point. He asks, if this voice were an actual person, would you want to live with them?
Probably not, especially if they were commenting on every golden retriever we saw on the street.
Exactly. But we let this mental chatter run our lives.
So how do we even start separating ourselves from those thoughts? I mean, they feel like us.
It's tricky, yeah. Singer suggests we start by questioning the labels we hold on to. You know, your name, job, what you look like.
So like all those external things that people see?
Right. He says those are just labels, not actually you. He even goes deeper, like your emotions, your thoughts.
Wait, so even those aren't really us?
Well, think of them as things passing through you, not defining you. Remember that part where he has you imagine stripping away all those labels?
Yeah, that was a little intense, not gonna lie.
It gets to the core of who we are, though, underneath all those layers.
There's something more.
That's what he says. He calls it the conscious observer. It's that part of you that notices thoughts and feelings but isn't controlled by them.
So like, I'm watching my mind instead of being lost in it.
Exactly. Once you start seeing yourself as that observer, it's freeing. You get some distance from all that mental noise.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But we're not just minds, right? Singer talks about the heart a lot, too, not just the physical one.
Oh, yeah. He describes it as this energy instrument, a place where we store impressions from our experiences. Samskaras, he calls them.
So, like energetic memories.
Kind of. They shape how we see the world even if we don't realize it. You know how a smell can suddenly bring back a memory?
Yeah, totally.
It's similar. But these samskaras, they can block our energy flow, especially when we cling to them, like holding onto a happy memory too tightly or resisting a painful one.
So how do we let go of them? Some things are hard to just forget.
That's the beginning of inner freedom. The untethered soul is all about releasing those patterns, those sensitivities. But you know what's tricky?
What's that?
Sometimes the things we think protect us are actually keeping us stuck, clinging to comfort zones, for example.
So playing it safe can hold us back.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. We think avoiding pain equals happiness, but Singer says resisting uncomfortable stuff limits our growth.
Okay. But how do we actually do that? Avoiding pain is kind of instinctual, right?
To explain this, Singer uses this thorn in the arm analogy. Imagine you have a thorn stuck in your arm.
Ouch.
Right. And it hurts whenever something brushes against it. What would you do?
Well, I'd probably protect it, make sure nothing touches it.
Exactly. But what if, instead of guarding the thorn, you just took it out? Singer says that our past hurts, they create these thorns inside us, these sensitive spots that cause us pain when they're triggered.
So do we have to, like, relive all our bad memories?
Not necessarily relive, but become aware of them. The first step is simply noticing those thorns. Where do you get defensive? Where do you shut down?
So it's about recognizing the pattern.
Yes.
Yeah.
No judgment, just awareness, allowing the energy to move through, even if it's uncomfortable.
This sounds like mindfulness, but deeper.
You got it. It's mindful awareness, not just of thoughts, but those deeper patterns that shape our experience.
Wow. All right. So we've got the noisy roommate, the heart's energy, these thorns. What else does the untethered soul have for us?
Well, get this. Singer proposes this radical idea. Choosing to be happy no matter what.
Unconditional happiness.
Right.
That sounds both amazing and impossible.
Right. It might seem a bit out there, but hear me out.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's not about ignoring bad things. It's recognizing that happiness doesn't have to depend on things going perfectly.
So finding happiness within myself that doesn't depend on external stuff.
Exactly. It's a big shift in thinking. Singer actually says it's a direct path to spiritual awakening.
I'm intrigued, but how does happiness lead to spiritual growth? Those seem pretty different.
When you choose to be happy unconditionally, you're letting go of needing to control everything, that grip your ego has on how things should be.
So it's about surrendering to the flow of life.
Precisely. You start trusting that even in the midst of challenges, there's this underlying current of joy and peace we can tap into.
Wow, this is giving me a lot to think about. And we haven't even touched on the divine yet.
I know, we're just getting started. The untethered soul takes us on quite the journey. And that journey takes us right into the divine, which can sound a little mystical.
Yeah, the D word always makes me a bit cautious, but I'm willing to see where Singer goes with it.
It's not about religion or anything like that. He's talking about experiencing a bigger reality, like a feeling of being connected to everything.
So more about the feeling than any specific beliefs.
Exactly. It's about tapping into that universal energy, love, compassion, wisdom, what some people call God or the divine.
Okay, I see how letting go of our limiting beliefs could open us up to that.
Hmm.
But how do we actually do that? We can't just, decide to be egoless, can we?
It's definitely a process. The Untethered Soul has some good advice, though. Singer stresses awareness, like noticing when we're holding on to thoughts or emotions that are causing us pain.
So mindfulness, but applied to the ego itself.
Right. You observe your ego's little tricks, but with distance. You see the fear, the insecurity, the need to control.
And then what? Just let it go.
As you become more aware, you can start to gently let go. Yeah.
But wouldn't that make us feel empty? Like we've lost our sense of self?
That's a common worry, but Singer says it's the opposite. As we release the ego's hold, we find a more genuine, expansive self. He uses this analogy of a drop of water falling into the ocean.
Oh, I love that one. The drop is still there for a moment, but then it merges with the vastness of the ocean.
Exactly. That's what he says happens when we let go of the ego's limits. We dissolve into divine consciousness. It's peaceful, joyful, and connected.
It does sound incredible, but also kind of scary. If we let go of the ego, what's left? What makes us us?
That's the paradox, right? By letting go of who we think we are, we discover who we truly are. And that true nature is connected to the divine.
So it's about that spark of divinity within ourselves.
Yeah, that connection to something bigger than our limited human egos. And as we nurture that awareness, we see the world differently. More compassion, gratitude, and love for everyone, including ourselves.
It reminds me of that part where he talks about the loving eyes of God, seeing us without judgment, just accepting everything.
Right. He says God sees our flaws, not as things to be ashamed of, but just as part of what makes us unique.
It's like we can let go of the self-criticism and show ourselves the same kindness we'd show a close friend.
It can totally change how we experience life. Imagine walking around knowing you're loved unconditionally, no matter what.
It's like having this invisible safety net. You know you're loved and supported even when you feel lost.
Exactly. And that feeling of being held, being loved no matter what, it's something we can find within ourselves as we connect with the divine.
You know, what I appreciate about Singer is he takes these big spiritual ideas and makes them feel so grounded. Remember that funny bit where God visits Earth and asks how someone's doing?
Oh, yeah. And the person just complains about everything wrong with their life. It's like we get so caught up in the negative, we forget to appreciate what's good.
So true. We always focus on what's missing instead of seeing the good stuff that's right there.
And Singer says that by shifting our focus, by choosing to see the positive, we align with that divine energy of love and joy.
It's like tuning into a different radio station.
And by doing that, we not only make ourselves happier, but we help create a more loving and harmonious world.
I'm really seeing the power of these ideas. It's not just personal. It's about making the world a better place.
It all starts with that inner transformation, choosing to let go of those limiting beliefs and embrace something bigger.
You know, as we talk about this, I keep thinking about that part where Singer describes the heart, not just the physical heart, but as this energy center.
Oh, yeah. He talks about it being this super sensitive instrument that feels all these different emotions and energies.
And it's through the heart that we connect with, well, everything. The divine, each other, the world.
He also talks about those samskaras, those energetic imprints from our past that we carry in our hearts.
Both the good and bad experiences leave their mark, shaping how we interact with the world.
It's like those experiences become a part of us. They influence our thoughts, feelings, actions. And Singer says if we become aware of those samskaras, we can start to free ourselves from their grip.
So not erasing the past, but understanding how it shaped us and choosing to respond differently now.
Exactly. It's about breaking free from those knee-jerk reactions. Instead of closing down or getting angry, we can choose a more conscious, compassionate way of being.
It's like taking back our power. We become the authors of our own story instead of letting the past control us.
That's a big theme in the Untethered Soul. It's about recognizing that we always have a choice in how we experience life, no matter what happened before or what's happening now.
It makes me think of that thorn in the arm analogy. It's not just about seeing the thorn, but actually having the courage to remove it. to heal those old wounds.
And that healing takes a lot of self-compassion. It's realizing we all mess up sometimes, and those mistakes don't define us.
It's about accepting all parts of ourselves, even the parts we might not like or want to hide.
And when we do that, when we accept ourselves fully, we open up more space for love, joy, and connection.
This is really making me think. It's like you're giving me a whole new way to see the world, one that's focused on love, compassion, and interconnectedness.
That's what the Untethered Soul is all about, really. It's helping us remember who we are, divine beings capable of boundless love, joy, and peace. As we've been exploring the Untethered Soul, I keep coming back to that idea of experiencing the divine.
Yeah. How does Singer tie that into everything else?
He makes this connection between our own personal growth and the qualities of the divine, like as we let go of our ego and become more loving and compassionate.
It's like we're reflecting those same qualities that we associate with the divine.
Exactly. And he encourages us to really look within to understand those qualities. Remember that analogy?
Yeah, there's one.
The one where he compares it to like rain making you wet or fire making you warm.
Oh, yeah. You don't need a scientific explanation to experience it directly.
Right. It's about that direct experience, that feeling of connection to something bigger rather than getting stuck in definitions.
It's funny because when you hear experiencing the divine, it can sound so abstract.
Yeah, for sure.
But the way Singer talks about it makes it feel more, well, accessible.
He gives us these practical tools to cultivate that inner connection, right?
Right. And to experience the divine as a living presence, not just some far-off concept.
Exactly. And remember when he talks about seeing the world through the loving eyes of God?
Oh, yeah. That was powerful.
It's like this vision of a perspective that's completely free from judgment. Just pure acceptance and appreciation.
It really makes you think about how much we judge ourselves and others.
And how much energy we waste on that inner critic.
Singer's inviting us to step outside of that limited view and embrace, well, everything.
Ourselves, the world around us.
And to do it with that same unconditional love that he talks about.
It's a whole different way of seeing things, isn't it?
I remember that part where God comes down to earth and asks someone how they're doing.
Oh, yeah, and they just start complaining about everything.
It's so true. We tend to focus on what's wrong instead of what's good.
We get caught up in the negative and forget to be grateful.
And Singer suggests that by changing our focus, by choosing to see the positive,
we actually align ourselves with that divine energy of love and joy.
it's like a conscious choice to tune into a different frequency.
And when we do that, we not only feel happier, but we actually create a more loving world around us.
It's amazing how much power we have in that simple choice.
It all comes back to that inner transformation.
Letting go of those limiting beliefs and embracing a more expansive way of being.
It's been incredible exploring all of this with you.
I know, right? From the noisy inner roommate to the divine, we've covered so much ground.
The Untethered Soul is full of so much wisdom.
I feel like it's given us a lot to think about and hopefully a lot to put into practice.
I think so, too.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one of the most thought-provoking questions from the book.
Ooh, which one?
Singer asks, if you could choose to be unconditionally happy for the rest of your life, would you?
Wow.
And what parts of yourself would you need to let go of to make that a reality?
That's a powerful question. It really makes you examine what you're holding on to.
It's a challenge to look at our deepest desires, our fears, and those beliefs that might be holding us back.
Definitely. And it's an invitation to let go of those things.
To embrace the unknown and discover that boundless love and peace that Singer talks about.
I love that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Untethered Soul.
It's been my pleasure.
I hope everyone out there found it as insightful and inspiring as we did.